Straight to breaking news, and we're hearing just in the last few minutes that the professional wrestling and entertainment star Hulk Hogan has died in the US.
In the world of professional wrestling, few names are as instantly recognizable as Hulk Hogan. Recently, his daughter, Brooke Hogan, sat down for an interview and revealed something that shocked both wrestling fans and the media. This wasn't about career drama or a publicity stunt. This was about a secret, deeply personal, hidden for years, that completely changes how we see Hulk Hogan, not as a wrestler, but as a human being. But to truly understand the weight of Brooke's words, we first need to look back at Hulk Hogan's life. Hogan got married to his first wife, Linda, back in 1983. Together, they had 2 kids who would grow up right in the middle of all this craziness. First came Brooke in 1988. Then Nick in 1990. From the outside looking in, they seemed to have it all figured out. A superstar dad, a beautiful family, money, fame, cameras following them around. It looked like the perfect celebrity lifestyle. But when has any family ever been truly perfect? Especially one living under the constant spotlight of fame. Brooke Hogan grew up as wrestling royalty. While other kids were playing with action figures of her dad, she was living with the real thing. She saw her father as this invincible superhero character that millions of fans worshipped. But she also saw something else, something the cameras never captured. She lived in a house where the man behind the character dealt with real problems, real struggles, and real pain that the wrestling world never knew about. The Hogan family looked untouchable from the outside. They had the big houses, the fancy cars, the reality TV shows. Remember Hogan Knows Best? That show painted this picture of a fun, loving family where dad always had the answers, and everything worked out perfectly by the end of each episode. But behind those staged family moments and scripted conversations, there was a whole different story playing out. In mid-2025, Brooke did something that nobody expected. She sat down for an exclusive interview that would shake the wrestling world to its core. This wasn't some quick social media post or casual comment to a reporter. This was a planned, serious sit-down where she knew exactly what she was about to say and how it would change everything. After years of keeping quiet, years of protecting her family's image, she had reached her breaking point. For years, her father had been hiding a serious health crisis that was tearing him apart physically and emotionally. And nobody outside the family knew about it. This wasn't some wrestling storyline or publicity stunt. This was real, raw, and incredibly personal. According to Brooke, the problem started when she was a teenager. Her father began dealing with chronic health issues that went way beyond normal wrestling injuries. It started with severe back pain that just wouldn't go away, no matter what treatments he tried. But it didn't stop there. Hogan was also suffering from intense migraines and fatigue so overwhelming that some days he could barely function. Brooke described watching her father, this man who seemed invincible to the rest of the world, struggle to even walk properly on his worst days. Brooke painted a picture of a family living 2 completely different realities. In public, they had to maintain the image of strength and perfection. But behind closed doors, they were dealing with constant doctor visits, heavy medications, and treatments that the public never knew about. She shared a memory that still haunts her today. When she was just 14 years old, she accidentally walked in on her father getting a steroid injection for pain management. The moment he saw her, he immediately tried to hide what was happening, forced a smile, and told her everything was fine. But Brooke could see the pain in his eyes. They were glazed over from the medication and the struggle he was going through. That moment stuck with her, because it perfectly captured what her family's life had become, constantly hiding the truth to protect the image. The health problems weren't just physical either. Brooke explained that watching her father deal with chronic pain took an emotional toll on the entire family. Hogan became more irritable, quicker to anger, and sometimes emotionally distant. As a teenager, Brooke found herself walking on eggshells, wanting to help, but not knowing how. She and her mother tried to be supportive, but it was incredibly difficult. Brooke even admitted feeling guilty for wanting more attention from her father when she knew he was dealing with so much pain. But why now? Why speak out after all these years of silence? Brooke explained that carrying this secret had become too much for her to handle. She talked about feeling like she was living a lie, watching the world celebrate her father's image while knowing there was so much more to the story. She said it wasn't about getting attention or creating drama. It was about her own mental health and the need for honesty. She kept apologizing throughout the interview, especially to Hulk Hogan's fans. She made it clear that she wasn't trying to destroy her father's legacy or hurt his reputation. Instead, she wanted people to see the complete picture. Not just the superhero version of Hulk Hogan, but the real human being behind the character. The most heartbreaking part was when she explained why she had waited so long to speak up. She was scared. Scared of hurting her dad's career. Scared of the backlash from fans. Scared of being seen as a traitor to her own family. For years, she felt trapped between loyalty to her father and loyalty to her own truth. But as time went on, that guilt of staying silent became heavier than her fear of speaking up. She described feeling stuck in the middle, loving her father, but also needing to be honest about what she had witnessed growing up in that household.
Now, to really understand why Brooke's revelation hit so hard, we need to talk about what fans didn't know about the Hogan family's life behind the scenes. Most people only saw the version of Hulk Hogan that was carefully crafted for public consumption. The unstoppable wrestling hero, the loving family man, the guy who always stood up for what was right. But the reality was much more complicated. Even before Brooke's health revelation, the Hogan family was dealing with serious personal struggles that they kept hidden from the public eye. Hulk's marriage to Linda was falling apart long before their divorce in 2009. This wasn't just about normal relationship problems. They were dealing with the immense pressure that comes with living in the spotlight 24/7. Every family argument, every disagreement, every moment of weakness had to be carefully managed to protect Hulk Hogan's brand. Can you imagine living like that, where even your private moments aren't really private because you're constantly worried about how they might affect your public image? The pressure was enormous, and it affected everyone in the family differently. Hulk had to maintain his larger-than-life persona while dealing with physical pain and family stress. Linda had to play the role of the perfect wrestling wife while watching her marriage crumble. And the kids? They had to be perfect children of a perfect family, even when nothing felt perfect at home. Wrestling fans saw Hulk Hogan's incredible career, but they didn't see the physical price he was paying for decades of punishment in the ring. Those big moves and dramatic matches that entertained millions were destroying his body, piece by piece. The surgeries, the recovery periods, the constant pain management, all of that was carefully hidden from public view. Then came the really difficult period. In 2007, Brooke's brother Nick was involved in a serious car accident that brought legal trouble and terrible publicity to the family. Instead of being able to deal with this crisis privately like most families would, the Hogans had to handle it under intense media scrutiny. Brooke found herself caught in the middle of all this chaos. She was trying to build her own career in music and television, but she was constantly defined by her relationship to her famous father. Every interview, every opportunity, every mistake was viewed through the lens of being Hulk Hogan's daughter. The unspoken rule in their household was that the family image had to be protected at all costs. Any crack in that perfect picture could potentially damage Hulk's career and legacy. This created an environment where telling the truth about problems became almost impossible.
When Brooke's interview hit the internet, it was like someone had set off a bomb in the middle of the wrestling community. The reaction was immediate, intense, and divided. Wrestling fans who had grown up idolizing Hulk Hogan were completely shocked. Many of them had never considered that their childhood hero might be struggling behind the scenes. The image of the invincible Hulk Hogan was so strong that the idea of him dealing with chronic pain and health issues seemed almost impossible to believe. Social media absolutely exploded. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, every platform was buzzing with people sharing their thoughts. And boy, were those thoughts all over the place. On one side, you had people praising Brooke for her bravery. They saw her as someone who had finally broken free from years of forced silence, someone who was willing to risk everything to tell the truth. These supporters talked about how refreshing it was to see honesty in a world full of fake celebrity images. But on the other side, there was serious backlash. Critics accused Brooke of betraying her father, of airing dirty laundry that should have stayed private. Some fans felt like she was destroying their childhood memories of Hulk Hogan, and they weren't happy about it. The wrestling community itself was split right down the middle. Some current and former wrestlers came forward to support Brooke's story, sharing their own experiences with hidden injuries and the pressure to keep performing despite serious health issues. They said her revelation was important because it showed the human side of professional wrestling that fans rarely get to see. Other wrestlers stayed completely silent, probably not wanting to get involved in such a sensitive family matter or risk damaging their own relationships within the industry. The media went absolutely crazy with the story. News outlets, sports channels, gossip blogs, entertainment shows, everyone wanted a piece of this story. Reporters started digging through old interviews with Hulk Hogan, looking for any hints about his health problems that might have been missed before. Paparazzi began following Brooke more intensely than ever, hoping to get additional comments or reactions. Every time she stepped outside, cameras were waiting to capture her response to the ongoing controversy. Now let's talk about what this revelation did to the Hogan family dynamics, because that's where things get really complicated and emotional. Imagine being Hulk Hogan and suddenly finding out that your daughter has shared your most private medical struggles with the entire world. Even if those struggles were real, and even if she had good intentions, that has to be an incredibly difficult thing to process.
According to sources close to the family, Hogan's initial reaction was a mixture of shock, hurt, and confusion. He reportedly asked Brooke why she hadn't come to him privately before going public with such personal information. For someone who had spent decades carefully controlling his public image, this sudden exposure of his vulnerabilities must have felt like a massive betrayal. But Brooke had her reasons, and she wasn't backing down from her decision. She explained to her father that she had been carrying this burden for too many years, and that keeping quiet was affecting her own mental health. She needed the world to know the truth, not just for herself, but because she felt like the family had been living a lie for too long. The conversations between father and daughter became tense and emotional. Family members described an atmosphere where everyone was walking on eggshells, not sure what to say or how to handle this new reality, where their private struggles were suddenly public knowledge. Brooke's brother Nick found himself in an awkward position. He hadn't been the one to speak out, but he was part of the family that was now under intense scrutiny. Sources say he tried to stay out of the public debate, but privately he was worried about how this would affect his relationships with both his father and his sister. Their mother Linda, who had been divorced from Hogan for years at this point, reportedly had mixed feelings. On one hand, she understood why Brooke felt the need to speak her truth. On the other hand, she was concerned that this public revelation might create permanent damage in the family relationships. The emotional weight of the situation was enormous for everyone involved. Brooke described feeling both relief and guilt. Relief because she no longer had to carry the secret alone, but guilt because she knew her honesty had caused pain for people she loved. For Hogan himself, this created a crisis of identity. His entire public persona had been built on strength and invincibility. Now his daughter was telling the world about his moments of weakness and vulnerability. The man who had made millions of fans believe he was unstoppable was being revealed as someone who struggled with very human problems. Family therapy became a topic of discussion, though it's unclear whether the family actually pursued professional help. What was clear was that they needed to find a way to rebuild trust and communication after such a public breach of family privacy. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a family therapist who specializes in celebrity families, pointed out that what happened with the Hogans is actually incredibly common in famous households. She explained that when a family's livelihood depends on maintaining a perfect public image, it creates enormous pressure to hide any problems or struggles that might damage that image. This pressure can be especially damaging for children growing up in these environments. They learn early that their real feelings and experiences matter less than protecting the family brand. Over time, this can lead to serious mental health issues and relationship problems. In Brooke's case, Dr. Martinez suggested that her decision to speak out was actually a healthy step toward breaking a cycle of secrecy and fake perfection that had been controlling her life for years. By choosing truth over image protection, she was prioritizing her own mental health and authentic relationships over public perception. If you think more people should know this side of Hulk Hogan, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.